If we don't see co-conspirators, they might be testifying against it. I'm just thinking out loud. I'm using my educated brain, right? We cover a lot of cases. A lot of times we can make reasonable deductions. Now, for me, when I said that was a reasonable deduction. Now, I'm going to also give you some more details. If you guys watch the Vlad podcast, I said a little bit more about him. I never really ever meant to talk about this because I really don't think this is content. I do not think the Fed's indictments, RICO, is content, okay? This is something that I would probably never mention. But I did use my experience to kind of, as a foundation, to say, I understand how they probably came at Adam and what they're going to want. Yeah, I remember I broke this whole down and said this was what they're going to want from Adam. Again, I've never fully told my situation because to me, nothing to do with police in that serious sense, even if I'm an innocent civilian, it's not content, okay? Especially when you have friends that might be indicted or are indicted. Now, let me get to the, so I'm going to jump in between where I got my thoughts from, but also how Wack is seeing it. Apparently, and I did my Googles and research today, people have taken the conversation that I had with Wack and they've made it to a point where they're like, by the way, yes, Wack came across very angry, whatever, but you gotta realize Wack's a street dude. He don't like nobody mentioning his name with police. That's a fact. He don't. I'm a civilian. Also, I've had experience where they did try to come talk to me. Or they try to come get some shit from me, right? When I had the conversation with Wack multiple times on stream, him coming off irate and seemingly defensive, and I remember Adam 22 when they did the Adam and Wack show, he brought it up there, but then it spurred a narrative that means Wack is guilty, right, of either a few things. The police came and talked to him, and he's now spooked because he thinks he's going to get indicted. Number two, and I think this is the most prevalent narrative, that he's the police, right? Because if they don't come to talk to you, that means you're working with them. And what other narratives? Number three is that he's like, I don't know, I think it's a combination of number one and number two, right? And I think those narratives have been running wild. And I think those narratives, you know, again, Wack does care about his integrity, even though, of course, everybody do their content, blah, blah, blah. But he cares about his integrity. He's not fond of negative, or not necessarily negative, he's not fond of a untrue narrative that goes against him and his integrity. So while we were talking today, because I was saying to him, I'm like, Wack, I never said you're the police. I've also never said, without a doubt, because he was like, yo, do you think the police came and talked to me? We can make a bet. He basically denied it. And I even told him, I said, Wack, you know when I asked you that question on live, all you have to do is just say, no, they never came. You got so defensive, people made up, like, it's like you're watching two people talk, you're like, oh no, that triggered him. I know what's up with that. If that triggered him, that means there's smoke, or if there's smoke, there's fire. Do you get what I'm saying? So, after the conversation, and by the way, I understand narratives because narratives has been, I've been on the worst sides of sometimes narratives that I tried to clear up 20 million times, but nobody gave a fuck. And of course, I've been on sometimes the good side of narratives, but whatever. Like, you usually care about the best. Now, I only say that to say this. After the call with Wack today, and I keep telling you, not everything is content, right? And I wasn't gonna, I could have sat on the phone with Wack and be like, yo, Wack, I thought, yo, you do content on everybody else when they're doing, when these cases happen. Why can't niggas ask you that question for? No, I get it. As I said, he was extremely, I've never seen Wack that upset, honestly, truth be told. And as someone who I consider as a brother, and someone who I think has been very benevolent to me in all types of ways, it is, I even told him, I said, no, I'll make sure I clear, I'm gonna clear it up whenever I get on live stream, that whatever conversation me and you had on here, yes, I'm using my deduction to say I think this could have happened, but it's not to help whatever people are trying to make out about Wack being the police, Wack being, what else did he say? Oh, Wack is talking to none of that shit. So, and then the last thing I took away from that conversation is that there does become a time, and you know, again, I barely got a word in with Wack about this. Remember, he was just going off. There does become a time where you become too close to a particular situation to do what you normally do about everything else. And I think, if you ask me, just being honest, I think that's kind of where Wack is with this situation. Not that he has nothing to do with it, not that, you know, he's about to be indicted, not that he's a fucking, what do you call it again? Not that he's working with the police or whatever niggas be trying to say. But it's the same reason why if y'all ask me like, yo, Ack, when you talk about other people's cases, why don't you talk about this? I would love to talk about it. It's an ongoing court case that I have a lawyer for. As soon as it's over, I'll talk about it all day, all night. And that's kind of what I felt getting off the phone with him today. I said, I can't tell him what to do. But I do think that this Big U situation, loose cannon, brick baby, well, Wack is the most popular person out of everybody who just got locked up. A lot of people are looking at it from a content space. Like, they're taking little things. Like, I think Wack said he ran with Big U, but he clarified to me today on the phone. He said, bro, me and Big U have never done anything remotely close to anything that he's been accused of. Never. It's night and day. Anything that he's been accused of, I've never been accused of by people who know me. Not internet sleuths, not these other people. I've never been accused of. And that's what I took away from it. I said, I'm like, I think these narratives are almost inevitable because he's too close to the situation. He's the biggest name. Like, do you want to talk? I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't give a damn about Big U. I only knew about Big U. Well, I knew about him, but because Wack was beefing with the nigga or talking about him for 2-3 years, that's why I cared about him. So now we really only still care about Big U when there is a Wack element. This is why people, when the indictment came out, they went to some supposed confrontation that he had with Wack. You want to see that, and that's why I say I think Wack probably, I can't tell him what to do, recuse himself from especially all of these updates about this story. Because again, to clarify, I don't think Wack the police. I asked the question. I'll give you a little bit more details about it because I did do it on the pod today. That dropped it with me and Vlad. The police came to me. Okay, I'll tell you what happened. I'm at Complex, and the guys downstairs, we have a front desk, whatever. I usually hang out a couple minutes late sometimes, but not all the time because we have a car that picks us up exactly after the show is done. We can leave exactly then. Our HR guy at Complex comes to me and says, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? I said, what's up? He said, let me talk to you in one of these like breakout private rooms. I said, okay, all right, cool. I go in there and he says, is everything good? I said, yeah, what's up? What's going on? He said, the feds are downstairs for you. I'm at Complex. I'm like, first of all, how does Complex know my schedule like this? It's like, no, not how did the feds know my damn schedule like this? Anyway, they said, what do you want us to do? We got him down. We got the feds downstairs. I'm going to say the guy's name. Basically, almost there to tell me, if needed, we could get you out of this goddamn building without bringing you downstairs, okay? If we need to. I'm telling them, listen, I have no idea why the feds would want to speak to me. I don't do anything that's wrong. I don't commit criminal activities. I've not been associated with no criminal activities. That's just what it is. They said, well, what do you want us to do? I said, well, did they say what they want? He said, they want to speak to you. I said, okay, that's fine. They said, listen, this is what we're going to do. You stay here. We're going to make sure they don't have, which, again, Complex has no fucking clue. We're going to make sure it's not like an arrest warrant, nothing like that. If they just want to speak to you, we'll bring them up here and put y'all in some room and y'all could, even though they said, do you need a lawyer? Because this is the feds. By the way, I'm telling you everything that happened to me. That's why when I'm commenting on Adam, and even when I'm bringing up Wack, because I look at Wack as a media personality, all that gangster stuff, that's cool. But Wack is on Clubhouse every day doing media. That's not gangster work. That's media work. So I'm using my example. The feds come up, we go in this room, it's an all-glass room, I'm sitting there with 3 dudes. And I don't know what this is about. They said, hey, listen, they said, listen, just to let you know, first thing that comes out of your mouth, just to let you know, you're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. But we do believe you have some things that we need. Now, they then said, we're going to be in contact, but this is our way to let you know, to engage you, that whatever. I am shitting bricks. I have no idea what's going on, okay? By the way, this time 6ix9ine's locked up. So that indictment came down. 6ix9ine's already locked up. This is probably a month after. I'm gonna be honest, it's like a month after. I get a lawyer. My lawyer hits them up and said, hey, I represent Akademiks. There's no more need for you guys to reach out to him. Reach out to me. I represent Akademiks. They said, well, we don't have a subpoena for him, but we do believe he's in control of some material items to our investigation. It was then communicated because they went back and forth a bit because I hired the lawyer to figure out what do they want. They're not saying they're arresting me. They're not saying that I have anything. They're actually even leading with, even though that's a typical cop thing, you did nothing wrong. Why are they trying to talk to me? My lawyer comes back and says, hey, Ak, did you post a video on Instagram, this date, blah, 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 and he describes it. I'm like, well, I post mad videos. The next thing they do, because he's communicating with the feds, I don't know what the fuck they do. He says, do you know this video? And he sends me a video. It's a download of my Instagram post. essentially, to make a long story short, they wanted a video they already had. They got it from Instagram. Their whole thing was two reasons. Now I've realized they wanted it without my watermark on it, and then they wanted to know if there was a longer version of the video. Okay, so they wanted the original video, which also to me was a little bit ironic and kind of because at that point I knew they had all of 6ix9ine's phones. They said 6ix9ine sent me a video. That's what happened. They said 6ix9ine sent you a video. You posted it. We want the original video. And I'm like, well, you have his phone. Anyway, it's like chain of custody, all that bullshit. Anyway, that happens. My lawyer says, listen, this is how it's gonna go, and you tell me how you want to play it. They're operating nice right now. They don't have to. The next step after this is for them to say, we are going to subpoena you. Because there was because there was a superseding indictment that came out later. There's an ongoing grand jury. We're going to go put you on the stand and grill you about whatever and still get the video from you. Now, you pick your poison. You can play hardball with us, delay us a little bit. You already posted a video. We just want it without your watermark. Whatever you got sent, give us that. Or else you're going to be in our grand jury on the fucking stand. We'll cook up the indictment for that. Not indictment, I mean subpoena. Ultimately, my lawyer talked to them, because here's the thing I 100% wanted. I said, listen, I don't want to be no parts in this case. I don't know nothing about no crime that 6ix9ine or anybody else ever did. I don't want to testify versus nobody. I don't want me being on the stand, even though I know number one is grand jury, which is supposed to be secret. Number two, I don't want to be testifying to, like, by the way, at that point, I was around 6ix9ine shouting them niggas good amount. I don't want to be testifying about nothing. I don't want to be in this case. Whatever crimes you said these guys committed, go deal with them over there. So my lawyer basically tells him, we're not trying to play hardball, but we have no interest of being in, we have no interest of cooperating in the sense of you're going to hold this grand jury, trying to subpoena me to a grand jury. Okay? They said, well, we can negotiate. And this is exactly how the feds know, bro. I'm telling you. They said, listen, if you come down and answer a few questions with your lawyer, just give us a video. We'll guarantee that you won't be anywhere in the grand jury and subsequently the case. Because again, I did not want to be up in that motherfucker. I don't care what nigga. I ain't do no crime, but still, I don't. Bruh, this is what I'm thinking. Gang members is killing people too. Boy, was I wrong. Like, yo, if you testify like at all, like you're dead. Even though, again, I don't know nothing about nobody. So anyway, the video we got, they got the video. So they got the original video for me. It was the exact video that was posted. It just didn't have my watermark. And I go down there to the federal building with my lawyer. And that's what I was trying to tell. I remember I was talking to Flock on the phone. This is where the spook shit comes. That's especially when I don't know how criminals do crime. They really don't give a fuck. Well, they do podcasts up in jail, so they're happy with jail. I don't want to be up in jail. Nigga, you know how I got spooked by the feds? Not only that, they showed up. Listen. So whatever, and they're like, we're just gonna ask you some questions. Your lawyer's here. They have me sign some shit. They're like, listen, like this is basically the agreement. You're never gonna be in this case. Okay. They're like, just to let you know. And it's funny because the cop that got deputized, he's like, he brought up something like about my college. He was just like, you're a Rutgers man, huh? And I was like, what the fuck? How you know this shit, nigga? It's like, this is why the feds spooked me, my nigga. They knew everything about me. They just wanted some confirmations. That's it. Like, they knew everything. They didn't ask questions. They were just basically, so like, what they said to me? They were like, yeah, the first time you and 6ix9ine hung out was this date. And I was like, fuck, I know the exact date. Nigga, they was watching this nigga for so long. They knew every single time I hung out with him. They knew everything. So the question they asked me was like, you ever seen 6ix9ine shoot a gun? And I'm like, what the fuck? No. So it was basically like, they asked me like about 7 questions. It was like, nah, I never seen that. You ever seen Shotty with a gun? Nope. You see 6ix9ine with a gun? Nope. You see this guy with a gun? Nope. What happened at the studio when y'all hung out? Then we hung out, shit, made a song, left. Right before they did like rap, they said, we knew all that. And I was like, what the fuck? This shit just spooked me out because it's like, they did all that to basically said, give us a video, we already got it. Okay. We're gonna ask you some questions, but we're telling you the answers already. And I was just like, yo, you wanna fuck with the feds, bro. You wanna fuck with them. So anyway, I say that to say, and by the way, nothing ever came out of that. But I just show you how the feds could spook anybody who's around individuals getting indicted. So when I brought up the thing with Wack, I'm not looking at Wack as this gangster, bro. I'm looking at Wack as this media guy. And I get it. He might not have a video or a recording or whatever, but you never know. Sometimes the police might be like, yo, Wack be on Clubhouse, whether he's lying or not, or just capping, or Wack be saying he got A, B, C, and D. Yo, bro, you want to play the content? Like, you never know. So I anticipated that the feds, if they did that to me, now granted, that's Southern District of New York, they play no games. They play no fucking games, right? I don't know who the attorney, the U.S. attorney is in Cali, and I know that's in the Cali district. I don't know how tough they are, but if they went at Adam, right? And I guarantee they didn't hit Adam they probably even hit him with a subpoena, bro. They probably just told him, unless you want us to, they're gonna tell you the hardball, easy ball shit, bro. you know we could go, nigga, they know he's fucking bitches up in the back of that shit at that fucking no jumper spot. Nigga, unless you want us to comb through your building with a fine tooth comb, nigga, you gonna give us that cease and desist, right? Of course he's gonna give it up. Of course, no, you got it, bro. The hell? I ain't gotta do that anyway. If I ask him a couple questions, he don't know nothing. Adam don't know nothing. Let me this. Only the worst criminal. Let me this. No matter what I say about 6ix9ine, 6ix9ine was, he definitely incriminated himself a lot. 6ix9ine was like the Superman version of loose cannon. But I'll definitely say this. One thing he was smart about is that whenever it was time to do crime, like, I can catch you. It's time to go shoot nigga. Nah, he never said that. What I'm saying, like, he never did nothing around. Never. He never did nothing around me. He never planned nothing around me. And he understood the assignment like this is act, square guy, let's not do nothing that might spook him or show him our hands that if he ever get pulled in, he's over here saying some shit we don't want him to say. Now, granted, ultimately 6ix9ine ended up being that person, but I give him credit for that. So, going back to the Wack situation. That was my outlook then, still is my outlook now. And when Wack called me, I ain't gonna lie, I was like, you know, and honestly, I think maybe his clubhouse room or whoever, like, he was describing to me because, you know, at first I was like, Wack, what are you talking about? But once he said narrative and I started looking at it, I understand how narratives get formed. Like, because I said, Wack, I never called you the police. Never called you the police. But I also understand, you know, when Adam 22 play dumb, but he knows what's going on. I understand narrative, so I'm like, yo, I get it. Like, niggas is taking our conversation about this big U shit and some of the genuine questions I have to you as whatever narrative they want to fill. And I just want to definitely clear up that was not my intention in terms of casting any aspersion on Wack, even though I think the audience going to do it regardless. I'm going to be honest with you. And that's why I say I think Wack's a little too close to that situation. He's the most popular name in it. Like, bro, at the end of the day, like, we just listen to some nigga named Del Morrison or whatever. Like, nobody knows this guy. Like, we found about loose cannon through Wack. Like, Brick Baby, you know, with all due respect to him, he wasn't pulling that much views on No Jumper. Like, he was more interested when he was going at Wack. So, like, of course, a narrative is going to get spawned to include Wack because he's the most popular common denominator among all these guys. So, what that narrative is going to make sense is Wack next to be indicted. Yeah, that's going to be a narrative. You know, maybe Wack is the person who set this up. That's gonna be the narrative. But just to be clear, man, you know, after speaking to Wack, and I understand narratives because I've been through myself, I don't think that's fair. And to help clarify, I talked to him today, bro. He says police never talked to him. And I actually believe him. I actually believe him. Yo, they came to me for a video. They came to a video that was already posted. They came to Adam for a cease and desist that they mentioned that the U sent. It is what it is. So I don't know. Somebody say call Wack. I'll call Wack. Do you think he's up? Let me call Wack. Let me see. If he's up, it'll be good. I ain't hearing that upset ever, bro. And really, it was more upset that I think he was saying to me, I said this before I called him, he was just saying, yo, Ack, anytime things about you occur and people could take the narrative, because a lot of people don't like you, just like a lot of people don't like me. And this is what I'm saying to me. And they could try to use the narrative and run in a negative way. I always steer the narrative back to the positive. But it feels like you're allowing a narrative to run on me. And they're acting like, you know, I think he said like people are saying like I exposed him or something. Like, what the fuck? How I exposed? Like, what I exposed? But I understand narratives. Let me try to call Wack. I don't know if he was. He's in LA though. So it's 2:26. Jesus Christ! I gotta start shooting earlier.
Your call has been forwarded.
All right, no, I want to also call him and let him get his shit off too, because again, with me explaining it, I'm also like, I might not be giving him his just due because I like my whole demeanor was, Wack, I never said these things about you. Like whatever y'all say, whatever the narrative is right now about Wack, I've never said it about him. But I understand how people might take those narratives from our conversation. You get what I'm saying? So, you know, I think it's only fair. If he's around, I'll give him a call. If he's around. Does that make sense, chat? And also, another thing too, bro, I don't want to be the guy who people are like, because I don't know who, but I think people were saying to Wack like, yo, man, that nigga, yo, you sure act your friend? That nigga snaking you right now. That's not the case. I'm asking him the same way I just told you the story. I don't think it's a big, and again, I tried to tell him that too, but he wasn't here. I said, I just don't think it's a big deal because I don't think Wack is doing anything nefarious. I think Wack is doing content, selling diapers. But I do understand the feds come calling or feds will try to come holler at somebody just because they feel you're close to somebody else. You feel what I'm saying? And again, maybe it happened, but I was going off of my situation. That's why I commented on Adam. And yeah. So please, if y'all out there in YouTube land, man, could y'all please stop trolling Wack? Because y'all are making it seem like I'm in cahoots with y'all narratives, and that's not true. But again, you know, with narratives too, like it's not about necessarily what I say. It's like Y'all know how narratives is. You know how narratives. So what I think today, I don't know what or who posted what, or I don't know who probably talked to him, but I think he felt like, yo, there's this narrative growing. And by the way, we're both hated, so we're used to people talking shit about each other, shit about us. But when they're talking shit about us, they're not sourcing one of us. Like if someone's saying, yo, Wack's a piece of shit, Act is blah blah blah, they're not gonna be like, if somebody like, yo, how you know? Be like, man, look at this shit with Wack. Nah, they're not gonna say that. So when people are saying, yo, whether he's, whatever these narratives are about him, if they're using me to be like, yo, well, you ain't hear that conversation with him and Act? Remember Act kept asking this and he said this, like, you don't think this is blah blah? Yeah, that's where I'm like, yeah, take me out of the group chat on that one. All right, anyway, yeah, I just want to try to clear it up, but if he calls back, we'll talk about it. And I want to give him, let's get his piece off, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Okay. Are we done with this big U shit? The big U shit is just like, the only reason why we even care about this big U shit is, and this is why I guess it's like a catch-22. I think Wack is one of the loudest voices in hip hop. He talked about, bro, I don't know nothing about Big U other than what Wack said. Because I guarantee if it was some other niggas, well, I guess no jumper guys, right? Well, Brick Baby and Loose, even though Loose is not no jumper guy. I guess them getting indicted made this like a thing. But like normally, I don't think people give a fuck enough to talk about these things that much. Whatever. Okay. All right, people. Okay. All right. Did y'all hear?